Hey guys, welcome back. Like in the previous video, we understand about the Cloudinary, WebSocket and also configure the database for our project. And इस वीडियो में हम लोग अपने प्रोजेक्ट के लिए एंटिटी डिफाइन करने वाले हैं. And let's talk about there are a lot of entity class in our project. So first of all, we are going to define a news entity. Let's talk about the news entity. And there are lots of fields. Okay. So one by one we are going to define it. So first of all, I'm going to create a package. So inside the com.news app, I'm going to create a package and name it entity. And in the entity package, I'm going to define all the entity classes. So first of all, I'm going to define the news entity class. And I will annotate with the entity annotation because this class are going to be entity. So the entity annotation help us to create a table in our database. I will show you when we run the project. So in the MySQL database, there are in my database, there are lots of tables created when I run the project. So I will also annotate with the all our constructor that help us to provide the constructor for our fields, and also the data annotation that are coming from the lombok, and it help us to provide the getter and setter for our table and know our constructor. Okay, so first of all, I am going to make a field that are going to be ID field, and every entity have a unique ID. So if you are aware with the Spring Boot, like basic of Spring Boot, then you know we have to first create ID for every field, so for every table, and that ID are unique. So first of all, I am going to define a ID, and this ID are long private long ID, and I will annotate. Let me first zoom it and it is clearly visible. So I think this is clearly visible to you. So I will annotate with the ID, and this ID are generation, like generated value, and strategy. I'm going to define a strategy, and generation type like identity. I will put it identity because every ID is a unique ID for every news. Okay. Let me define some other field like title. So private string really. Okay. And I will annotate with the column, and I am tell with no label false because for the every news there are mandatory to mention the title. Okay. Let me define some other fields like content, private string content, and I will annotate with the column, and this are going to be colon definition text. Okay, colon definition, and this is going to be text. Okay, and no label false. Fine. And like I'm going to be defined here the created by, like if anyone posts the news, then he have to mention the author name, like who is created or not, and it is mandatory or not, like I'm going to be like this can be null. Okay, so this is our string and created by, and I'm going to have the column and name. I'm going to here put a custom name like created by. Let me put here created by. Okay, and the label false, and these fields are going to be or false. Like you, if you want to mention who posts this news, then you can mention it, and it's on you. And here for the timestamp. Okay, so private local date time, and these are going to be created at. Okay, created at. Fine. And here I am going to use the @ column annotation and put it here like name, and here the created at, and no label false, and it is mandatory to, like if you want like it is mandatory to mention what time the news is created. Okay, and I am here going to use the one annotation that helps to provide when we publish a news, like when we upload a news, and created date. Okay, these are coming from the, I think, JPL. Not created date, created timestamp, creation timestamp, creation timestamp, and these are coming from the Hibernate. Okay, so like creation timestamp, let me explain the creation timestamp. Okay, this annotation are coming from the Hibernate, and this help us to put the time, like what time the news is created. Okay, and these are going to be automatically, like every time we don't have to mention what time the news is created. Okay, so I'm going to here make a field for the state. Okay, like state, and this is are going to be state. So what we have to do, we have to create a state class. So let me go to the entity and I will make a state class here, state. So I will define it later. So I will first complete this and then move to the state entity. Okay, so let me define some other fields like district and other also. So I will define here the private city district. Okay, so I will make a class in the entity package and name it district. So like our state. So what I will do, I'm going to annotate with the join column. Like first of all, let me define the relationship. Okay, so many to one, like many to one. Okay, and fetch type I'm going to be lazy fetch, and this is going to be fetch type, and I'm select the lazy. So let me explain it. Like here I am going to define the relationship with our news entity and our state entity. Okay, so what type of relationship? Like there are many news which belongs to one state. Okay, like many news belongs to one state and one state have a many news, and we are going to be fetch it because the fetch type is lazy. Because when we fetch the news, and we don't want that every state fetched at that time. So at that time, we need it, we are going to fetch it. When we need the state, we are going to fetch it. Okay, and so and these are going to be bi-directional mapping. So what I will do next, I will first put it join column, and I will name it state ID. So I'm going to here use the bi-directional mapping. Okay, so join column help us to make it bi-directional because we want to fetch the news of this state, and with the help of state we are going to fetch also the news articles. Okay, so we need the bi-directional mapping. And for the district, we are also going to use the bi-directional mapping because if you want to fetch the news, then we want to fetch also the districts. Like this news belong to this districts, and when we try to fetch the district related news, we also want to fetch the news articles. So we are going to use here the bi-directional mapping. So what I will do next, here I will also many to one, many to on, and I'm going to use here the fetch type like fetch, and fetch type eager, like not eager, lazy. I'm going to use here the lazy, and here at the red join column. And what I will do next, I will name it here name district ID. Okay, so let me move, and I'm here going to define the category. And here what I will do next, I will name it category. Okay, so I will go to the entity package and also make a class that are going to be category. Okay, so I will also make a bi-directional mapping, and like many to one, and the fetch type is fetch, and fetch type is going to be lazy. Fine. And what I will do next, I will join column, use the join column, and the name category ID and non-label false. Like let me give it the name category ID, and these are going to be nullable false, and also like I think these are good. Okay, so let's move to other like other fields like languages. And for the languages, and I will make a class in the entity and name it language. So, and these are also going to be bidirectional. Okay, so what I will do, I will here use the annotation and make it many to one. Okay, like many news article belong to one language, like we have a Hindi, English, when whatever language we want to put it. So I will also, let me first name it here, H type, H and H type, and these are going to be lazy. Okay, and I am going to use the bidirectional mapping here. So I think I made a mistake. Let me first. Okay, so I'm going to use here the join column and name it, like I'm going to here the language ID. So I made an language ID. Okay, and these are going to be our join column, and I think हो गया. So for the next field I'm going to have the local date time, and this is our going to be published date, like so I will make a field private local date time, and this is our publish, and this is our date, and I will name it here column and name it publish date. Fine. So like publish date, let me show you guys. This is our going to be our date. Here is the date. When we publish our news, we have to select the date. Okay, so we are going to manually select the publish date when we publish our news. So for the video link, like every news article have also a video field. Okay, so this is our going to be our string, and I will name here video link. Okay, so for our news articles we have also an image URL, like we are going to upload our image on the Cloudinary, and we will take a image URL and also render it to the front end. Okay, like client side. So we also create a field for the image. Okay, so this is going to be our image URL. Fine, and I am also going to be here the private long new, like view count. So view count, and I will first, these are going to be our long, and I will have make it long, and for the I'm going to here the annotate with the column annotation and name it like view count, view count, and I forgot here and put a semicolon here. And I will also make a field here, like we have a view count, share count. Okay, so I will annotate with the like long share count. Okay, and I will initialize with the 0, and this is our long type. So, and I will also annotate with the column annotation and choose a custom name like name, and this is our going to be our share count. Fine. And we will move toward the in our news article there are lots of comment, okay, like list of comment. So I will annotate here the private list, and like this is are going to be comments. Okay, so I have to create and there are lots of comments. Okay, and these are going to be array type. So new array list, and I will add a semicolon. So I have to create a comment. Okay, so comment entity I am going to create in the news. So entity package I will have the put the name comment. Fine. So by default it is imported, and I will here going to be and use the annotation like there are for the one news article there are many comments. Okay, so I am use here the annotation one to many, and these are going to be mapped with the map, like I am going to use the bidirectional mapping, and I am going to mapped with the news. Okay, and here I am going to use the cascade, like when we remove the news articles, so there are lots of comments on a single news article. So when we remove a news article, then the comment will automatically also deleted. So I am going to here use the cascade, like cascade type all and orphan removal true. So fine. So I'm going to create an also field like likes, like every news articles have a like also. So let me create a private, and these are going to be set like like are always unique. Okay, so one person can hit a like button at a single time. Okay, if he try to like one person can hit a like button single time, like one person like a news article at only one time. So I am going to here use the set, because set holds a unique value, and here I am going to use the like. So we have also to create this class, so later I will create it. So first of all let me define the field like. Okay, and I'm going to use the headsets, new headset. Fine. And these fields are also going to be our one news have a many likes, so I'm going to use the annotation one to many, and I'm going to map with the news. Okay, and like when we delete the any news articles, then the news article likes also got deleted. So I'm going to use here the cascade, and this is are going to be cascade type all and orphan removal true. Okay, so automatically got deleted all the likes. Okay, so I will first create a like entity in the news in the entity. I'm going to create a like entity in the entity package. So I will hit the enter. So now like entity also got created. So I think our all the fields are all the fields I mentioned here, like these fields are too much important for our news article. If you want to add some other field also, you can add it. So from the like I'm going to here, like first of all I'm going to complete our state. Okay, so let me zoom first. Okay, like it is clearly visible to you. So I'm going to first complete my state entity. So I'm going to annotate with the entity annotation, entity annotation, and like it will create a table in our database, and also going to be all our constructor, no our constructor. Both annotation help me to provide the both annotation help me to provide the constructor for our fields. Okay, so I'm going to use the data annotation that help me to provide the getter setter for my field. So for the state, I'm going to here put a custom name, like I'm going to use the table annotation and name it states. Fine. So let me define the state field. Like every field have a, like every table have a unique ID. So let me define the ID first, private, and this ID are going to be long type ID. Okay, I will annotate with the ID annotation, and this is going to be generated value, and define the strategy, and here define the generation type dot identity. Fine. Okay, so let me define like name, fine, and I will annotate with the column annotation, and this column annotation like going to be no label false, like we have to mention the state name, and unique true, like we are going to enter a unique state name, like every time we need to enter a unique state name. So repetition are not allowed. Okay, so let me define some other field like districts. So every state have a list of districts. So what I will do, I will first define a list. Okay, so I'm here going to define the list, like every state have a list of district. Okay, and have districts equal to, like not equal to their list of districts. Okay, so here I'm going to use the two directional mapping. Okay, so one to many, like one state have a many districts. Okay, so I'm here going to mapped with the mapped by, and here going to map with the state. Fine, and cascade type, like if we remove any state, then if we remove any state, then the districts also got deleted, because if we remove any state, then according to the state the district also got deleted. So I'm going to here the mention like cascade type all, and orphan removal true. Okay, and I'm here also going to like tell fetch type. Okay, fetch type dot lazy. Okay, fine. So I think our state entity also got completed, and we move toward the like complete our districts. Okay, so here also let me zoom first. So I'm going to here, this is our entity annotation, and here all our constructor, and here no our constructor, and I'm also going to use the data annotation that help me to provide the getter setter for my fields. Okay, so first of all I am here going to define the ID, private long, like every private long, id. Okay, so I will annotate with the id annotation, and here the generation type. Okay, let me define the strategy. Generation type identity. Fine. Okay, let me define the field like every districts have a name. So private, and these are going to be our string type name, and here I will annotate with the column annotation, and this fields are not going to be our nullable. Okay, so I am going to here put the nullable false. So let me define other fields like private, state, like every district have a single state. So I will annotate with the many to one. Okay, like there are lots of districts which belong to one state. So I am here going to be fetch type, like we are going to fetch it lazy. So like lazy help us to make our application faster. Okay, like when we need it we are going to fetch it. Okay, so I am also use a notation like join column, because these are going to be our two-way directional mapping. So here I am going to use the join column annotation and name it state id. Okay, state id. Okay, and these are going to be nullable false. Okay, I think our district entity also got completed, and we move toward our category. Okay, so I will first complete our category. So what I will do first, I will make it entity. Okay, so it will create a table in the database, and I am going to here use the data annotation that provide getter setter, and also use the all are constructor annotation and no are constructor. Like you have to mention like 4 annotation in every entity. Okay, so let me define first the id. Okay, so here I'm going to make it private long id. So I'm going to annotate with the id annotation and generated value, and define the strategy, and here define the generation type dot identity. Like you can define the auto, but it is not going to generate a linear id. So like I'm going to use the identity, and it will generate identity and also a linear format id. So let me define some other field like every category have a name. So I'm going to here define the string type, and these are going to be your name, and these are not going to be null. Okay, so I will use the annotation here, the column annotation, and these are going to be nullable false and unique true. So like category are going to be unique, and I think our category entity are got completed, and we have to move to other languages. Okay, so like line by line, like what I mentioned here in the news fields, I'm going to make it first. Okay, so here I am going to here, let me show you guys. So like after the category I have to first clear the languages. So in the language entity, let me zoom first. So I am going to make it annotate with the entity annotation and data all are constructor and at the rate no are constructor. Fine. So I am going to here make a first id, and these are going to be our long type. And what I will do first, I will annotate with the ID annotation and generated value, and define the strategy, generation type dot identity. Fine. So our next field are going to be our name, because every language have a unique name. Private string name, and these are going to be our @ column, and going to be our nullable false, and unique true. So here we have a every languages have a list of news. So I will first make a field private list, and there are a list of news, like every language have a list of news. So I am going to have the newses and news list. Okay, and I'm going to have the array list. So here I am going to annotate with the many to one, like one to many, like one language have a many news, so I will select annotate with the one to many. Okay, and I am going to mapped with the language, like in the, let me show you guys. So I am going to mapped with this fields. Okay, so I am going to mapped with the language field in the news, like I am going to mapped with the language field in the news table. Okay, so let me head over to the language. So fine, and if I remove any language, then what I will do, so like I'm not going to true the, like when I fetch it, like I'm going to have the cascade type all. Okay, I'm not going to here put orphan variable true, because I don't want to remove all the news if I remove the languages. Okay, so I think our language entity also got completed. So let me move toward our, like, let me first go to the news, and so let me move toward our comment. Okay, so I'll first go to the comment, and let me zoom first. Fine. So I will annotate with the entity annotation, and here all are constructor, and also no are constructor, and also put the data annotation here. Fine. So first of all, I am going to here put the ID, and these are going to be our long type, and this is our ID, and I am going to here the ID annotation, and these are going to be generated value, and put the strategy like generation type dot identity. Fine. So let me define some other fields also, like here private user. So we have to create a user entity also. So what I will do next, I will first make a user annotation, user entity here in the entity package. So fine, and here what I will do next, I will here tell the user. Okay, so one thing I tell you guys, like one user can multiple comment on the any news articles. Okay, so we have to annotate with the many to one, like one user have multiple comments, and multiple comments belong to a single user. So I am also put annotation like JSON ignore. Okay, I will show you, I will tell you later, like let me tell you guys, JSON ignore. When we fetch any user, we don't want to fetch also the comment also. Like when we move to the news article and we try to fetch the comment, then the comment will be fetched. Okay, so we don't like, if we don't use the JSON ignore annotation, it will create a loop. Okay, so we will use the JSON ignore annotation. Like when we try to fetch a user, the user will be fetched, not its comment, and when we try to fetch the comment, then the comment will be fetched. So here let me define some other fields like private, string, and content. Like, okay, and private, string, username. Like every user have a unique username, and I will also make a field for the local date time, like when the comment will be created at. So I think our comment entity are got completed, and we have to move toward our like category. I think all the like so we have to complete the like entity. So I am going to here annotate with the entity annotation, and also annotate with the data annotation, all are constructor annotation, @no are constructor. Fine. So here let me define like every like have a unique ID, private long ID, and this is our going to be generated value. And I will first here strategy, and here generation type dot identity. So I forgot one annotation like ID annotation, so we have to put the ID annotation here. Fine. So here I am going to here put a private user, because a user can hit single time a like button. So I will here create a user and user field, and there are many likes belong to one user. Okay, like a user can hit multiple likes on a multiple news article button. So a user can hit multiple likes on multiple news articles. Okay, like one user have a multiple likes, so I am going to annotate with the many to one, and here let me make other field likes private, news, and news. Fine, and I am going to annotate with the many to one also. Okay, so the like entity also relate with the news entity and have a many to one properties, like many likes belong to a single news articles. Okay, so I think we completed all the entity, and for the user entity we will complete in the next video. Like we will try to configure the Spring security and all the security configuration in the next video. So we are going to configure, like we will make it in the next video. So guys, I think I completed all the entity, and I am going to leave this user entity because in the next video I will try to configure the security and other configuration also. So we will try to cover it in the next video. So thank you guys, thanks for watching, and I think you will hit the subscribe button also.